Hey friends, Maria here. Welcome back to our last class. For today's class, we're going to be using our Posca markers, our fan favorites, the Tombow marker, and a gray one here. And for today's bit, I'm only going to use the Tombow markers, and I'll bring back the Poscas here later, but we're going to be using our brush markers for today. And this one is in the color purple. I really like this brush one. It's in the color 636, if you can see there. It's a really nice shade of purple. And today's example, I'm going to just use my name again. So here I'm just writing out my name. You can see the pressure whenever I'm bringing in those down strokes here. So that's kind of what you want to keep in mind when you're writing out maybe an example word. So just going to cap this real quick. And again, these downstrokes are really important when you're utilizing these brush pens, because the side of the brush pen is what's going to make the width a little bit more thick, as opposed to when you lift it back up and it's a bit thinner. So this is with these brush markers, and with the Crayola markers, if you have those as well, you always want to be mindful to use the side. The Tombow marker has this little small one, so this will help with embellishments that you want to add or any flourishes, whether it's at the beginning of your word or at the end of the word. You can use it to that advantage, and it gives the word a little bit more pizzazz. So we'll cap this, and we're going to be talking a little bit more into detail throughout this video today. So today we'll cover three things: shadows, flourishes, and embellishments. These are things that are going to make your words, your calligraphy really stand out. So we're going to start with some shadows, and I'm just going to sketch the word again because I had a little bit of a hiccup before. The beauty of editing. So I'm just going to sketch the word out, shadows, first. As you can see, I drew myself some guidelines to just make sure that everything fits correctly. And just retracing it over just to make sure that the words look good. And now I'm going to take my Tombow and just go over it with the Tombow. Now I have my outline of the word, and I can really see the spacing and where to put each individual letter. So now that I have the word shadow, I'm going to grab the light Tombow marker and begin kind of just adding the shadow. The way we look at it is the way in which the light comes in, whether it's from the right or the left side. So the light in this case is coming in from the right side, and I'm just putting some very small, I'll zoom in here, just using this light marker where the shadow would retract to here. And so we have it coming in from the bottom, and then I'll just come back over it on the other side, as it giving it that definition as if the light were hitting it from the other side. So I'm just going to do the rest of the word here, outlining the S and every individual letter. You can already kind of see it give it some depth and some dimension. So I'll zoom out so you can see kind of what it looks like. I know it kind of blends in with the pencil shading and the marker. So I'm going to flip the page and do another example here. For this one, again, I'm drawing out my guidelines. Super important that you have these guidelines, as they, keep you within the lines so that your word doesn't look really weird or convoluted, but it stays pretty consistent with the weight of the word, as we talked in our previous videos. So we're going to do Oak Cliff. I'm just doing this thing. I'm freehanding the letter at this point, but as I've learned from my freehand is that you can come back with some mistakes. But that's okay, because it's a learning journey that we're all taking. So we have our word here, Oak Cliff. And I'm going to just try to zoom in a little bit so you all can see. I'm going to take this lighter one here. And again, just following and tracing the ends of your letters is really important, so that you give it that overall depth and dimension that we want to see. So there we have Oak Cliff, and then this is just the bottom part. Now I'm going to go and trace it over the other parts of the letters as to give it that dimension again. We're thinking in terms of light coming in from the right-hand side. So there you can see a little bit of how it's coming into light. I'm going to try to bring in this darker gray so you can see how exactly it is that we're going. So here we go again, tracing the bottom areas of it. Anywhere where the light could hit it and create a shadow effect is where we want to put some of these darker or lighter shades. I'm using gray, but you can definitely use a much lighter purple that will give it a really cool monochromatic look. So you can get these Tombow pens at a Michael's online, but you can already see the depth and it, making it pop out from the paper if you did use something like a gray, but anything like a light purple will really make it stand out as well. And just another thing to note, right, is just remembering that the way that the light comes in is very important to understanding how to shadow when you're first starting out. It can be very difficult if you just have different lines coming in from different directions. So just keep in mind, right, we're having this light come in from the left-hand side and creating that effect that dips out into the right. And we're just going to continue to do more examples here of what that shadowing effect looks like with maybe a Crayola marker, if that's what you have at your desk. So this is just a Crayola tip marker. Again, I'm gonna be writing the word Crayola, but I'm writing it on the side of the marker. So this is what it is if you are holding it sideways as opposed to upright. So I'm just writing the word Crayola here and going over any of the letters that may need some editing. But yeah, just using the edge of that will really help to create that dimension to each letter and then the overall word. So I'm just grabbing the light gray Tombow marker again and zooming in here so you all can see that I'm creating these dips on the right hand side, because again, our light is coming in from the left, so the dips are into the right. And just tracing over the word on the top and any other space that we may need it to have. So we're just doing Crayola pretty quickly. And like I mentioned earlier, it doesn't have to be a gray. It could possibly have been like a really light red pinkish color, and it would have turned out really, really nice as well. I don't have a really light pink one or a light red, but it looks really nice. And what I like to do, I like to add some style. So I'm grabbing my Crayola gel pen in silver. So here it's a glitter gel pen that I got from this really cool set at Target. And I'm just going to add a little bit of a tracing line, like the inner lines within each letter, to make it just pop out a little bit more. This is one of my favorite techniques whenever I do some really fun calligraphy, whether on letters that I send out to my friends or anything else. I think it makes it stand out a little bit more. Even with that shadow, it gives it that really nice accent that you can see with the gray. And that leads us into our next bit, talking about outlining and how you can do that with monoline pens. So for monoline pens, I'm calling in the Posca markers again. I really hope I'm pronouncing them correctly, but I'm gonna be using the dark blue Posca marker. We're working with the monoline nib to it. And I'm just gonna write out my name again here, as if you guys aren't already tired of seeing my name. Just writing it out in cursive here. So Maria, and then my middle name. Fun fact, my middle name was the name of somebody my mom used to work with back in Mexico, and she really liked that name, so she decided to name me Yolisma too. And it's not that common as opposed to Maria. So now that we have our example written out, for me it's my name, I'm grabbing the light blue Posca marker and creating that same outline effect like we did in the red one, but instead we're using a lighter color. And to me, these light and dark contrasts make for really nice art that pop out. Obviously, I can't draw a straight line, but if you gently just kind of grace it, you can create a straight line. Try not to put too much pressure on it. You're lightly gracing it. So just very lightly kind of touching each letter. You don't want to, have a really thick line. You want to have as thin as line as possible so that it looks really nice. And for this, I'll bring in an example. I wrote this on my journal, and you can see that dark light contrast that I tried to make. And with the light one, is you grace it very gently. But this is what it looks like on my journal. This is a dark journal, but the paint marker really makes it stand out, and it looks really nice. And I added some little stuff there, all of the embellishments that we'll be learning today too. So this is it for that piece of it. Now I'm gonna just do another example, and we'll start adding some embellishments to it. So for this example, I'm going to write Oak Cliff. Again, shake it out, because sometimes the paint markers do need to be shaken every now and then. So for Oak Cliff, you can keep the same amount of pressure, considering these are monoline pens. Whatever pressure point you give them, it will keep the same consistency with the lines. So we have our word here, Oak Cliff, and I'll grab the light marker again here, and we're going to grace it. So here we go with the light blue marker. So just making sure the paint is dry, because we don't want to get all this other type of paint. So again, with the monoline, just very gently gracing it. You don't want to add a lot of pressure to it. So just adding some lines. Sometimes I like to add dots at the end just to make it a little bit more extra. For me, it's the more you can add to it, the better it'll look, honestly. And I'm just gonna grab the dark one again to add something. And now we're just gonna add our embellishments here. It can be lines, it can be exclamation points. For this one, I'll just add some lines that'll run through it. And you wanna follow the curvature of the word. You don't want to make it flat. So here I'm just trying to make some curves, because the K obviously has some curves to it. And we'll add a little bit of stars. These are not your typical other types of stars, but the stars can be different. You can create your own style. It doesn't all have to look the same. I learned this type of embellishment / flourishes from the homies at Sour Grapes Crew. They have some really awesome in-person workshops that I was able to go to and learn some of these tips and tricks that I get to share with you. So now I'm going to write the word Dallas. Again, this is kind of our last one, but this one I wanted to show kind of what we did with the faux calligraphy, going over and creating more thickness with the word. Obviously, monoline may not be for everybody, so you want to keep that calligraphy look and feel. So that's totally fine. It's something you can recreate with a monoline as well. So all we're doing here is just going over different parts of the letters to create that calligraphy look and feel. Again, following the curvature and creating these little embellishment lines that we have. And this one we'll just go over, and you can add little extensions to it. I'm trying to make it look as good as it can, but not completely derailing the design. I'm adding a little bit of accents to the A's there at the end, just some dots here. Like I said, the more you can add, the more it'll look really nice. And I'll just add some stars here and some other little stars like this. I know some folks can't draw the little, these are kind of like they look like diamonds, but they were pushed in, and those are my stars. I'll add some more I'll add some bolder circles to this as to bring it out a little bit. And see, we have already a really nice embellished hand lettering for Dallas, and I'm bringing in the light Posca marker again just to lightly grace it and give it that outline effect. That's really cool, and it'll make it pop a little bit more and look really nice. So just going over it with the light marker. And shout out to the homie DJ Storm for hooking it up with this. He has a lot of really cool arts and crafts stuff in his store. If you wanted to follow him, you most definitely can at Starting Lineup Vintage on Instagram. And now we have our word. I'm just zooming in a little bit so you can kind of see. It's not completely perfect, right? But this is something that we are working for, and bringing in the light one to just add some drop shadow. We're going to add all of the things we have learned to this design so that you all can see what the final product looks like. So just adding some of these drop shadows on the sides of it here, just to make it look really nice. See, it looks really nice. All of this put together, it makes for a really great word, and a really great design that you can cut out, put on the back of your phone or something. And last I'm going to show you a different type of embellishment that you can do. And for this one, I'm just going to write my name out again, just because I guess I really like my name. But it's one of the ones that I have the most practice with as far as spacing. So I'm cheating. I'm kidding. And now I have my name. I'm going to grab just a smaller felt tip pen for this. So I'm going to be going over it several times. And this will give it a really cool shape to it and embellishment. So I'm going over it with this Papermate felt tip pen, kind of accentuating each line and feature. Added some little teardrops, but turned on its side, and just going over it as much as you can. You can already see here it's building a lot of weight. I used this type of embellishment on one of my last designs for a shirt, and I'm getting the glitter pen again just to put those lines in it to add that final chef's kiss to the word here. So just adding this glitter. It's a silver. There are different types of markers you can buy that will most likely stand out a little bit more. But again, this pen came with a calligraphy set that I got at Target. And it's really cute. It's really fun. And it provides kind of that glitz and glam that I'm looking for. So these are all the examples that we have. We have a really cool sketch sheet going on here for us. And thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, keep practicing. I know I'm practicing on my end. You can continue to follow my journey at Maria Yolisma on Instagram. It's where I kind of put a lot of designs. But you can also follow the good homies at the Oak Cliff Cultural Center on Instagram as well. They have continued to put really great programming into the hands of our community. So I definitely suggest you give them a follow. And I hope to see you all again very soon